now go across to Ambassador DP Srivastava. Ambassador Srivastava, it was long being said by officials in the US that this will have to be resolved at the level of leaders. Now, considering that the president has spoken, saying that I'll always be friends with Narendra Modi, there is nothing to worry about. The Prime Minister saying, I deeply appreciate and reciprocate what you're saying about the India-US partnership. Does this mean that things have been resolved between the officials, at least till some level, and therefore there is some amount of comfort between the leaders to start talking now?
I think let's go back to where it all started. And we have to recognize that the US today is a very different US from what we knew. The policy revolves around the personality of one person. So the present situation arose because of a certain perception voiced by President Trump about India's positions. So I think as of now, it will be premature to assume that officials have worked out something and therefore the leaders have made public statements. I think it's the other way around, that the officials will start working on pushing back from the edge that both countries have reached now that the leaders have spoken. I will also add that, there has to be recognition, there is a recognition on both sides that the geopolitical realities for India and America have not changed. China remains the biggest threat to American preponderance at the global level and in the Far East. China is a challenge on Taiwan. It has started drilling in Taiwanese fields. So the military challenge is coming closer. And the Chinese military might was fully on display a few days earlier. So I think the US cannot ignore that. Now, the second point, that India's strengths also cannot be ignored. India clocked a GDP growth of around 6.5% in the first quarter. And this is despite the military tensions with our neighbor and so on. And third, that if you take it, the issue that is trade deficit, India runs a surplus of around $47 billion with US. We have a deficit of $97 billion with China. So US is not our problem. Our problem is China. And similarly, on the other side, US has a $300 billion deficit with China. So India's surplus of $47 billion is peanuts. So the problem lies elsewhere, and there is apparently a belated recognition of these realities, which have, tried to bring the US position closer to the center and where it was for many years.
Right. That's an important point. Let me also go across to Ambassador Rajamani once again. Ambassador Rajamani, what will it take?
The Russia question need to be looked at seriously by the Americans.
All right. Let me also get in Ambassador DP Srivastava at this point. Ambassador Srivastava, how do you think we can make those concessions to the US? If I look at the latest oil data coming in via oil tracking agency Kepler, they say that in the month of September as well, India will be among the top 2 oil buyers from Russia. Number 1 is China, then you have India, and then you have Turkey. So in September, this is not going to change. What do you think can really help India clinch some sort of understanding? Because the relationship is very critical. There's just too much invested in the India-US relationship to let it go like that.
Parikshit, there are no absolutes. Oil market has a glut. currently, and it is expected to last for next 6 months at least, because the OPEC is unwinding some of the cuts it had made earlier. So India has other sources instead of depending only on Russia. Now, we may, and in my opinion, we must maintain that relationship with Russia and buy some oil. But, we have to maintain a distinction between purchase of Russian crude oil for processing in India for sale in the Indian market, from which the Indian consumer benefits, and buying Russian crude for processing in India and exports to Europe or US of gasoline or petrochemicals, for which now we are getting, so much of criticism, and benefit does not come to the Indian consumer. So there is certainly scope for trimming the oil purchases. Now, the other aspect is that we can increase our sourcing from US in various areas, like LNG, for instance. And there is the third area is, the other area is the nuclear sector. Government has announced ramping up India's nuclear capacity from 8 gigawatt now to 100 gigawatt by 2047. It took us about 40 years to build 8 gigawatt. Taking it to 100 gigawatt in 25 years is a bit challenging, which opens up scope for buying a lot of this equipment from overseas. US is one option. We are already buying from Russia. So there are multiple ways in which the trade deficit can be reduced. And last, there are areas where we can't have any flexibility, and that is the agricultural sector, because that's linked to large-scale employment in India. So no Indian government can afford to make a concession on that.
All right, we've run out of time, but I'd like to thank all our guests, Ambassador Rajamani, Harsh Pant and DP Srivastava, for joining us. It's been a wonderful conversation, but the sum and substance is this positive exchange of statements provides us an opening, but there is a lot that needs to be done to reduce tensions and arrive at a mutually beneficial and a deal which is equal for both sides and equitable for both sides as well. That's a wrap on our special edition of Trump Watch and the first signs of the US-India tensions easing. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.